Ladies and gentlemen, to the HGC 2017 finals, we amidst a best of 5 between MVP Black and Team Expert to determine who's going to move on to the grand final. And at the moment, MVP Black is making this look absolutely dominant from their side. Wolf, it seems they're just back to former glory.
They do seem that way. They haven't dropped a single map in this tournament thus far. I feel like their drafting is solid. It's always been a staple of Black. And I think a mistake against Black is to try to draft safe. I think you need to go into something maybe you haven't shown yet, or some sort of specific draft, because if you're trying to counter Black's draft, they will out-draft you every time, and I think that's what we saw in games 1 and 2.
Well, let's find out which battleground we're going to be going to here to start things in game number 3. Will Expert take it? Yes, they will, and they go to Towers of Doom, a map that they have a lot of comfort on, gentlemen.
They have a lot of comfort on, but one thing that just instantly comes to mind is the legendary Kyocha Tracer on Towers of Doom. He was one of the first people to just kind of come out and dominate people with it last year. He moved over to support, but whenever it comes out, he's the one to play it. We saw Nick play it as well. That could be a hero that will have high priority between these two teams. Towers of Doom, obviously, totally different meta.
Let's get into it.
So the way that Expert has responded to an early Tassadar pick, if MVP Black should go with the first pick Tassadar, is they actually end up taking Tracer for themselves in the first pick rotation. Not gonna happen, Tassadar's gone. The Tracer reputations on either teams are known. Now Expert in 18 bans have only banned support twice in this entire tournament so far, so I'm expecting them to follow through with a Warrior ban here probably. And I would say ETC would be a pretty good bet here, as ETC has been quite a defensively successful hero for MVP Black.
Abathur is banned here. We're just going to see the top tier Muradin pick. Remember, how Black gets these one drafts is they take tools available, like they tier them, right? Tracer and Tassadar are at the top of the tiers. If that combo is removed, or if their first pick, like in this case, because they didn't get Battleground choice, they go to the next best thing. Muradin's going to be that top tier hero. This allows them to draft around what Expert's doing, and it puts Expert into this position where they don't want to show too much. They drafted safe in game 2 because they were like, okay, Black's going to counter us, but then they didn't really end up with a draft that meant anything, as we called it earlier. It kind of felt like a Hero League draft. I want Expert to go all in on something right now, whether Black counters it or not. Go with a comfort pick here.
You know what's a comfort pick for Expert that we haven't quite seen yet?
What do you think?
Well, ADRD action. Have not seen Medivh yet.
It's true. It's true.
And this
very
is
strong
something
on this map.
Very strong on this map indeed. So it's hard to commit too early because there are counters out there. I wonder if it will make it through to past the second ban phase. That's the fear that you have to have. I think they're definitely considering ETC as you mentioned. They go with it. They just go with it.
I mean, to me, obviously, I cast HGC Korea. I watch Europe as much as I can. And when I studied all the games of Expert, this combo in particular, ADRD and Bad Benny on these two heroes, was by far the most impressive thing I saw from this team. Great synergy with the portals, protection for the ETC. Bad Benny's ETC, world renowned, even the Korean teams giving a lot of respect. This is the kind of draft I was looking for from Team Expert.
So what you're saying is bringing out the big guns here to keep themselves alive.
Exactly.
And echoes from the past. MVP Black lost in the semifinals of BlizzCon against ETC Medivh Tyrande, by the way.
Yeah.
I will put this out there because the way that Expert plays the ETC style is a split approach. They will isolate somebody. You'll watch Bad Benny kind of casually walk into the middle. He'll face melt and then slide back towards his side. With Medivh, it allows you to go a little bit more aggressive, as we see the Li Ming picked up one more time. But some stats that I have in phase 2 for Bad Benny, he on 91 slides, they confirmed 26 kills, which was a kill rate of almost 29%, which was unusually high when we looked at some of the other people there. It was a really interesting thing. But on the other side, in terms of like hitting 2 or more heroes, he did that fewer than anybody. Expert has that 15% of the time on his slides. He only hit 2 or more. So it's a very interesting approach that Expert has with the ETC play.
I mean, I think that this Li Ming pick, by the way, is a little bit questionable, given what we've seen so far. You know, the burst damage from Li Ming can be countered by Medivh's shields. We may see a second DPS come through here. I think Black is just trying to hide that at the moment. But what's most interesting potentially we have here is the Ana pick that Black has used with Li Ming. You have a strong frontliner like Muradin, and you could just have these lined up shots. Now, that's why the Ana ban comes through here. Team Expert has done their research. This is a pairing we've seen from Black exclusively in this tournament, and we could have even seen the Arthas follow-up if they wanted to bring in a DPS for the front line that Medivh will get the protection to. So this is a very smart ban by
I want
Expert.
to ask about the potential of a Stukov coming in, since there is a little bit of a support show going on down the line.
I think you're right. It would probably be the most likely one. You can see the philosophy here for MVP Black. Burst Protect in Medivh is already there, so he wants sustain healings. Malfurion is #1, Stukov probably #2 in that department.
Yeah.
You could still go with something else, but I think it will be a solid pick.
The one thing I think that you have to look at, especially when you talk about the supports, is potentially giving up a Morales. When you have the ETC, you generally try and get a blow-up style off of that slide. One thing that Morales provides is that safeguard, that extra armor. When you apply that, that's very difficult to get those kills. So again, the approach that they have with ETC won't necessarily work as well against that composition, so that is something to consider in terms of supports.
And Brightwing could protect pretty well against that as well. Emerald Wind to control portal points, so...
Oh,
There's some
Lucio.
sustain.
I like the Lucio pick. This has been a very highly prioritized support on this map in Korea. Part of that goes back to the support choke you were talking about, but it's also a lot about that burst healing. We're going to see that second DPS come through with Ana not being here, so not going to be the double tank, double support with Li Ming carry. They're going to take this Genji, and now do we potentially see the Uther locked in as the 5th pick to empower those Dragon Blades? It's going to be tough to make that damage work, and no, they want to go for Karzi. It's going to be tough, I feel like, with Uther to get the kills on the sound barrier, the shields coming through, but Karzim adds his own level of extra damage.
And the Karazim and the Rhaegar in the previous game had so much sustain available to themselves, but equally so much pressure for the extra little bits of damage that they're able to add on.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a safe Dahaka pick here. I want to see something where Ethereal can get into the fight, kind of excel. He has the protection from Medivh. He has the slide buddy on the inside. I think Ethereal shines most when he is trying to do damage, trying to go.
What about like Ethereal here, though? I think Ethereal is fantastic. He showed it in the opening week in the group stage, and it goes well with the Greymane, goes well with the ETC. I really like
the Genji as well.
I really like a Ethereal pick here for Ethereal, if that's how they want to run this. He played Greymane, obviously, in Game 1. Well, they're going to go back to that strong team fighting Malthael.
I like this a lot more in the sense that Rhaegar and Karazim do provide pretty good AoE heals, some of the best, especially when they're paired together. You have very survivable targets on there, but going in with the sound barrier, with the shields, does allow you to get some extra damage. Again, I think that they have to create some type of chaos in that. Tormented Souls definitely does that, especially when we think about the fact that you're trying to go in, you're trying to get the slide, you're trying to get the isolation. But if all of the eggs are going towards the one solo target, then you're going to have a hard time blowing it up. So why not just make them prioritize different heroes and create a little bit of chaos with that pick?
You could argue the Medivh has made this team great over the past year or so, be it when they emerged onto the HGC scene and then been able to push themselves on. What better way, I suppose, to try and keep themselves alive at the very last second here in 2017 HGC?
Exactly. You're on the precipice. It's your staple weapon. It hasn't been removed. It's a good battleground for it. Absolutely smart pick. And I also want to say, I think it's not an exaggeration when I say that Malthael's level 7 pick, I expect Touch of Death, is going to be game determining in its usage. It vastly reduces the amount of healing someone receives when you turn that on all the marked targets. And its effect in countering ancestral healing is going to be of epic proportions.
I think this draft for Expert is by far their best, like way, way, way above games #1 and #2. They finally, I think, brought their own style here, brought a draft that's strong for the map. It has a theme. And I think if they can win this game, it won't be the death throes, it won't be their last run. I think they can maybe take this win into a longer series and potentially win it, but they have to obviously win this game to have that potential. But I think this is their best shot.
All right, our casters are ready to go. Will Team Expert keep themselves alive, or will MVP Black continue to be undefeated here at the HGC Finals?
Team Expert on their last leg here in the HGC, and they pull out the combo that is tried and true, the Medivh and the ETC.
Yeah, it's definitely their best draft so far, and it's also a very comfortable situation for them now from a composition perspective. But they are 0-2, so they really have to step it up right now. And it wasn't only the composition in the last few games, it was the execution where MVP Black excelled.
Well, let's see if Team Expert can step it up. Let's go ahead and move into game number 3 here as we go to Towers of Doom. MVP Black bringing out the Genji, looking for that aggressive play. And you gotta say it, man, when it comes to the last couple games, MVP Black just seems to be on another level right now. Can Expert rise to the occasion? We're
gonna find out on the 3rd game now. To the left, once again in blue, Sake on Karazim. We have Reset. Looking for the resets on Li Ming, Tist on Murden, this time with the Dwarf Kyoja on Rega, and Rich on Genji. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for MVP Black!
On the right side in the red, Kirsten playing Lucio, Bad Benny playing ETC. Gonna be having a Thorough Angel on the Maltfield. Watch for him in the Tormented Souls. ADRD brings out Medivh, and Nick on the Grey Mane. Make some noise for Team Expert.
There's a lot that we definitely have to watch out for in the series here. In an ideal world, Lucio would only use a sound barrier every time that MVP Black goes in with Genji's ult and tries to execute someone with the Dragon Blade. But of course, MVP Black is going to attempt to put pressure on heroes and force an early sound barrier, force Lucio to pop his ult to save someone individually before they really commit to their own heroics. That's definitely one of the things we have to pay attention to here. And especially when we're looking at MVP Black's draft, one of the big advantages that they have, one of the strengths of this composition is that they're incredibly mobile. They can rotate extremely fast between the lanes. They have the reset potential on Li Ming, on Genji, and especially with Karazim and Muradin to round it up, they can always jump very deep into these fights and then back out again.
But luckily for Team Expert on the other side, you got Medivh who can stop those moments from being impactful. They normally do couple a support that is passive healing, whether it be Brightwing or Lucio, with that Medivh because they know how powerful that Force of Will can be if they can land the timing. And ADRD, he is pretty expertly at landing those Force of Will. So we'll keep an eye on him as he'll use that Medivh to shark around, flow, keep an eye on his opponents. Now, Bad Benny and Thorough are holding down the middle lane, and Rich consistently comes down here to harass when he can.
And from a team mentality, Expert is not defeated at all yet. They've been bantering around in the lobby draft a bit with MVP Black, and you could really tell that they still think, okay, if we make this happen, if we win here, we have a shot of coming back into this. So they have not given up at all, and they have a draft that they excel at, where they can really show, okay, we are here to win games.
Thorough goes back to the top lane, while Team Expert will start the camps that spawn at 130 here. Very, very important to actually grab this. Get the pressure on that bottom side, and then Bad Benny needs to make sure that no one is on the other side grabbing those mercenary camps, because they do have a pretty good invade composition. Even with that Maltfield coming on later, the ability to bring in those portals is always deadly, and MVP Black knows this and sets up well.
And we've actually already seen how Expert is absolutely willing to give up early altars just to come back swinging in the late game. Dignitas yesterday has experienced that firsthand, but MVP Black at this point is trying to make the first kill happen once again. Bad Benny is under pressure, but ADRD is ready with the save, and it showcases once again how well this team does with Medivh.
That save, though, comes at the expense of 2 altars and maybe even a third. Team Expert finally does group up on the top right and grabs the altar, but it's going to be 40 to 32 here, 36 to 32 with those 4 shots coming out. So Team Expert does take a backseat in the shots, as you mentioned, but again, they're very comfortable in the situation.
And of course, in the late game, they also have Maltfield, who really comes online after 16. We have Lucio, who gets a big power spike as well. Expert is absolutely fine giving up early objectives and just fighting for the late game here. They've also taken a slight lead in experience. And I've heard situationally, actually, ADRD even argue that he sees no point in fighting for the 3rd altar in the first phase, because he says it doesn't really gain you as much. The early game doesn't matter to us. As long as we get the experience on lanes, we're absolutely happy with that spot.
I am kind of curious to see how MVP Black will try to grab an early game advantage in terms of the team fighting. Like, moving down a bell tower is actually quite difficult between Li Ming and Genji. They're not an auto attacker that would normally be able to burn that down quickly, so they'll have to control those sappers well, which means that Bad Benny will have to keep an eye out for it constantly, and he does come down the bottom side to help those sappers get deleted.
One of the big advantages of having Genji in your setup is not only that he is so mobile in team fights and can really pressure the backline, it's the quick rotation between lanes where they absolutely excel. And this is what I've been talking about a bit when we look at the lineup with Karazim. Everybody here basically being extremely fast on those rotations. that's where you can put pressure onto lanes and really surprise an opponent that maybe expects you a second later. You gang up on him and you try to get the kill. Lucio actually in trouble quite a bit here, and Curson already realizing that he is about to fall. First kill confirmed for MVP Black, highlighting exactly what I just talked about. The quick rotation between the lanes, and already it's netting MVP Black their first kill.
Showing how devastating a Karazim can be as well. Diving forward, getting those hits on top of that Lucio, who is close to getting away. This close to getting away, but does not work out for them. And Black will be able to take this 4-man and grab the Sappers on the opponent's side and start to hit that bottom lane. Now, luckily for Team Expert, they have top lane already pushing in, so they need to rotate down the bottom, clear out the Sappers, and be ready for this fight.
And with Expert hitting their power spikes a lot later than MVP Black, they are going to be completely willing to wait for Medivh to get the Master's Touch. And as long as they trade kind of evenly, not in bell tower damage, but in actual just experience, they're going to be happy with this. Just if you look at Black right now, with having already the stun on Muradin's jump, having Calamity as well, that power spike is pretty huge, but Bad Benny sees an opportunity. They go in, they go for Tiz, and they get the kill!
The force of will and a thorough destroying in that fight there as we watch Malfield take out the Muradin. 14 seconds until he is back up. Team Expert with a great turnaround on top of MVP Black. Can they grab this altar though? They're already setting up to push on the bottom side, but with Malfield peeling off, it is still a 4v4.
Yeah, and apparently Bad Benny has been updated as well. It's good Benny now, what we just saw from the crowd here, so pretty cool, cheerful. But so far he's in a bit of trouble. And again, it's the portal. Rich was waiting for them, but they still can't confirm the kill. And this highlights one of the things that we have been talking. Wow. All right, if you're dying here, still make my point. The one thing with Medivh where they really excel at is not only they are great at executing combos with Medivh, they're also fantastic to just use the portals. They always know what ADRD is going to do. They always know when protection is ready, when the portal is going to come online. So they really play extremely well with the hero, which is incredibly important because it's not only about how strong your Medivh player is, it's always also how good is your team at utilizing him.
Genji was almost Zeratul-like in that approach and how he went for that portal and tried to punish it there, almost taking out both Bad Benny and ADRD. Now, of course, we saw a thorough Angel fall, but the experience is still fine for our teams. 9 about to hit for both of them. And again, keep that pressure up on those lanes and try to move for those forts.
And I absolutely love what you just said. You're absolutely right. Genji is currently already starting to look at ADRD in particular and saying, okay, you are going to open that portal to allow them an escape path. So I just have to stay in the vicinity to try and get that kill. And they're going for the kills again. Lucio for the second time now dying here. 3 kills against 1 as MVP Black again takes a slight lead in experience and is starting to put on the fight.
Black is just lightning fast at finding a target and deleting them. They were on Bad Benny for a couple of seconds there and then realized they could jump on top of Lucio when he came around that corner and instantly deleted him from the map. Team Expert is hurting here as 10 is already hit for Black and Sappers will be lost.
Yeah, the mobility of Black really allows them to do these moves. They have the quick rotations between lanes, and even if they catch someone on lane, they can just dash in with every single hero. And Muradin in their hands is now an absolutely amazing tool. We heard early on how you can actually counter him to an extent with ETC, but so far that hasn't really come into play too much. I think that's something we're going to see way more often later on when the team fights, a 5 versus 5 actually happen.
I feel like that's a bit of a style change as well. Team Expert with Bad Benny prefer to have him be a bit more aggressive. He's looking for those power sides. He's trying to force those fights. But we saw Tiss, he was much more passive in the last game. He could afford to do so as his team was constantly setting up with a siege potential. So we'll keep an eye on Team Expert. As they do finally hit 10, there are 2 altars, one in the middle and one on the bottom side. And Expert, knowing how important this choke is on the top left side, control it for the time being, but with Reset charging around the bottom side, he might stretch them too thin.
Yeah, they're going to try and get at least a trade here with their bell towers to not fall too far behind in core points. And they have to slide out here once again. MVP Black, as he said, sharking around, looking for an opportunity. Nobody splitting to the bot lane. Rhaegar thinking about it here, but the rest of the team still sitting in the middle.
Thorough comes down there to hang out with Rhaegar and trying to slow him down on the altar. The Leyline Seal still up and available for Malfield. Tormented Souls as well. They're trying to go for the fight on the left side, but Nick, he gets caught out. The Wave of Force stops him from going in the portal.
And that control with the Wave of Force on the portal is one of the main reasons why Li Ming was even drafted here. It was absolutely perfect. The escape would have been easy, but right now we have the 10s coming in for Expert as well. Here comes the Ancestral, saving Reset for now. They're trying to jump on the Theory. The sound barrier has already been popped. Genji not using his Dragon Blade yet, but here comes the mosh pit.
The mosh pit gonna be hitting Genji. Can they kill him off? They finally get through it here. The Force of Will keeping Bad Bunny alive, but the combo comes afterwards and Reset going in for the kills here. A Thorough and ADRD are going to be forced to back up, and Curson comes in to make sure they get to safety. But Team Expert, losing 2 members, will lose the altars.
They lose the altars and they're down to 20 points. Now, we talked about how they're comfortable to be in a situation like this. They are playing for the late game. They did it against Dignitas, and they came back swinging. But also at the same time, it of course puts pressure on them. If you fall too far behind, even with the late game power spike, where you try to get your combos off, you might be too far behind to make that recovery. So they have to be really careful. They wanted to have the altar trade, and they didn't get it.
Did not get the altar trade here. 12.5 to almost 12 here for Team Expert. So Expert is hanging in there, moving towards that late game that you keep bringing up. And they've done a good job of stopping the sappers that keep coming their way, but they're not stopping the kicks here from Karazim.
It's just way too good how they play this. The mobility again, jumping over the wall, getting the stun against ETC. But Benny didn't see it coming there. And then the immediate 7-sided, the isolation. Once again, the big jump, but even with Medivh being in place, they do not. Yeah, they can't save him. They actually can't recover from this one. Now, once again, another bell tower is about to be taken at the bot lane. Oh, it just did. Now we have the altars coming online. Level 13 talent advantage for MVP Black as well. 7 kills against 2. They are running the show once again.
This is getting terrifying here for Team Expert. That's happened 3 times. The sappers being grabbed in the bait around that corner. Once got Lucio, got Bad Vinny. Team Expert's gotta learn from that. Rich on the side in the top right is taking a fight here against a Thorough. Portals will help out, but Tiss is here to receive him. Goes in for the attack. They're trying to play the portal game, but Thorough finally gets hit there, and Karazim secures another kill.
Sake committing to the ulti as well, making sure that you just get the kill. And MVP Black is playing this perfectly. Even when we saw Genji die to the mosh pit attempt by Expert in the earlier fight, the thought process was, as explained earlier, they baited out the heroic ability of Lucio, and then Genji wanted to wait it out and use his Dragon Blade. Expert was able to lock him into the stun and take him out first. But you can really see the thought process on their side. Genji trying to utilize it once that Expert is weak. Li Ming always using the wave of force around the portals, trying to make sure that Expert can't really get that defense and also not the escape. And that's a problem, because once you interrupt the flow of the game for Team Expert, you can just pick them off one by one.
Team Expert has come back before. 26-5 was the score that they came back in yesterday against Dignitas. But right now, 36-15. Expert is hurting, but they're finding a kill here. There it is. They'll pick up the Karazim. Here comes Tisso with the aid of Rich.
And here comes the Dragon Blight, but immediately the sound barrier, and that is perfect for Expert. That's a trade that you want. Can they save Bad Benny? They can, but Lucio falls.
Nick also low as well. Reset coming in here, getting a 3rd kill. Looking for a Thorough 2. 4 kills here as Team Expert continues to fall to MVP Black. They just keep running him over.
The resets that are kicking in after each kill are just too much for Team Expert to handle. They cannot allow the first kill. Once that happens, Genji and Li Ming just take full control of the team fight and destroy them. And that is, of course, an opportunity that MVP Black uses immediately to secure themselves a boss and another 4 shots against the towers.
Boss 4 shots and level 16 hitting here for MVP Black. Team Expert just now hitting 14. A talent disadvantage, and the towers are also going to be getting up for them as well. The bell tower on the bottom right. Bad Mini's moving into position to try and clear it up, but he doesn't have the DPS to even clear it out. Tiss shows up and delays.
And this could be game. 3 altars on the map, and now how does Black play this? They have the 2-level lead. They have the talent advantage. Expert is on their last leg here. It's a draft that they're extremely comfortable with, but MVP Black is just too strong right now. And if Expert doesn't get a good fight here, if they can't jump on someone, get an early kill and snowball it, then Black could end the game right here.
They have to play perfectly. That's all they have to do here, Caldor. Team Expert, top right, has set up already with Malthael. A Thorough checks in the bush, walks into a Murden and Rich as well. This is not looking good. The Force of Will be helpful, but he doesn't have anything to stay alive. The sound barrier will come out to keep him up for now.
Lucio had to pop the sound barrier, and they're trying to get a kill. They need to do something, and they are aiming for Tiss. He can't get the kill. Genji is channeling. He's channeling to the right side. If he gets this one, and he does, that might be game, because there's only 1 altar left. 2 alive, and there's the Sappers moving in, and this is game as we see Malthael die. MVP Black confirms victory on map number 3, makes it a clean 3-0 against Team Expert.
It almost feels like MVP Black is just that good. They casually take out Team Expert here in the semifinals with a 3-0, stopping them in Towers of Doom. And you got to call it out, man. Their execution looks to be the best that we've seen in months.
Oh, definitely. And this team is just absolutely fascinating. They didn't look good at the mid-season brawl. They struggled at the Eastern Clash. But ever since then, they absolutely stepped it up. And this is one thing that they just confirmed in the group stage and also, of course, here at BlizzCon. They are in fantastic shape. They are the first team to make it to the final. And it is going to be very difficult to take them down.
Yeah, it's got to wonder who will be taking them on the grand final. We find out next in the next semifinal. But a big shout out also to Team Expert. Remember, this is a team that brought a thorough on. They made it all the way to BlizzCon, made it all the way to the semifinals. A huge achievement for this team. Congratulations to them. But their road ends today here at the semifinals as MVP Black grabs the victory over them with a 3-0. And we get to watch them move into the grand final, Scoutaware.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely fantastic to see who, especially what kind of strategies come in at the final to take them down, because so far they look absolutely unbeatable. They look very crisp in their execution. They have a very strong game plan heading into every single map, and it's just a pleasure to watch them execute these fights and dance around.
Well, it's enough from us. Let's go over to Kevin here, who is with MVP Black right now.
That is right, Tim. A familiar sight here. Being here, standing next to Sake from MVP Black. Congratulations as you make your way to the grand finals here at BlizzCon 2017. I have to say, you guys are looking untouchable. You haven't even lost a game in this tournament. How are you guys feeling right now, and what is your confidence level?
먼저 결승 진출 축하드립니다. 그리고 지금 현재 압도적인 경기력을 보이고 계시는데요. 혹시 그거에 대해서 뭐 소감 같은 거 한 말씀 하실 거 있으신가요?
이 스펙트 상대로는 걱정을 많이 했는데 생각보다 쉽게 가서 좀 다행인 것 같고요. 그리고 저희의 지금 폼이나 상태를 봐서는 저희가 우승할 것 같아요.
They were quite worried going against Expert, but they were surprised that they kind of won kind of easily with them. And considering that how they're performing right now, they think they're gonna take it all the way to for the finals.
That led me to my next question, because when you look at the opposite side of the bracket here, Ballistics and Fnatic, do you see an opponent that's able to contest what you've brought to the table here?
이제 결승 진출하셔가지고 이제 남은 상대가 페나틱 아니면은 이제 블리스틱인데요. 그 두 팀 중에서 혹시 원하는 팀 있으신가요?
두 팀 다 센 팀이라서 누가 올라와도 상관없어요. 어차피 저희가 우승을 할 거기 때문에 아무나 와도 상관없습니다.
He thinks they're both great teams, but it doesn't really matter who comes to the top because we're gonna win anyway. So he doesn't really care who comes up.
I like it. A lot of bravado. I love it. Very good. One last question for you. This is the last opportunity we get to hear from MVP Black before the grand finals. Is there anything you'd like to say to this audience or to the world who's watching online about your team and your run here in the grand finals?
지금 많은 분들이 지금 MVP 블랙 팀을 응원하고 계시고 현장에서 많이 지금 관중에서 보고 계신데 혹시 그 관중들한테 한마디 해주실 말 있으신가요?
그냥 감사합니다. 우승으로 보답드리겠습니다.
Thank you for watching all our teams, and now we'll replay by winning the entire series in the finals. Yeah.
Fantastic, Sake. Well, congratulations and good luck in the grand finals. MVP Black, absolutely dominant, untouchable even. Kalaris, over to you.
Thank you very much, friend. An unbelievably confident MVP Black coming off the back of this round of 4, coming off the back of the round of 8, coming off the back of the group stage, not dropped a map just yet, and they're on a road to do something that is unsolvable by a lot of these teams that are presenting themselves here today. And when it comes to Fnatic and Ballistics later on down the line, they have to be very, very worried about the strength of MVP Black.
The execution of this Leeming play, I think it's one of the coolest things about this team. And we always talk about resets Leeming. It's been storied for as long as he's been a pro gamer, back on MVP Miracle, for example, before he moved into MVP Black. And I think that was the big story for me in that best of 5. It was just his play was so good, and the draft was clearly designed to work with an Onacomp like they used before. He didn't have those tools, and yet still just made those resets happen. No pun intended. This guy is one to watch out for.
No pun intended, but it is a thing, right? I mean, if
Absolutely.
you have a Li Ming that's called Reset, you might as well have a Medivh called Protected. Like, you'd be scared of that guy too. Or like a Murky called See You Soon.
I mean, he plays Genji quite well as well.
There you go.
Not in this comp, but he does.
No, but you're talking about execution, right? And I feel like that's the name of the game. You know, I'm trying to describe MVP Black's draft, and in stark contrast to yesterday, I don't think there is an easy draft breakdown where you say, if Expert just did ABC, they would have been fine. It's just the execution here. You start to talk in superlatives and onomatopoeia, trying to describe MVP Black's performance here.
I don't know if I'm just that impressed or I'm just waiting for them to come up against what we would perceive as tougher competition who's sitting on the other side. They said they didn't care who they played, but I guarantee they'd probably be rather playing Fnatic as opposed to Ballistics, because Ballistics, they tend to have their number at times, especially at Eastern Clash. We've seen some epic series throughout the year. There's another level to this team we just have not seen yet. It just doesn't feel like they've been challenged. This team is actually better than what we've seen. That's the scary thing.
Yeah, I mean, they defeated a North American team, Team Freedom, and then defeated Expert, neither of which were considered necessarily the strongest teams even from their respective regions. Had a fairly easy group, came up there 9-0 now, and I do agree. I think whichever team meets them will be their greatest challenge in this tournament thus far. So I think we just have to wait and see, but execution looks strong, and I think you don't want to try to outdraft this team right now.
Grubby, I think you had a highlight to show us?
Yeah, I got one little cool highlight. It's kind of the name of the game. You saw a lot of heroics and a lot of team play being used just to get a single kill, but as we pause it here for a second, I'd like to focus your attention on the minimap, right? You see here that all the members of MVP Black are rounding in on the team of Expert, and a lot gets used to kill a single hero. That's the depth of difficulty that Expert was running with. As we roll it forward, you get these isolated kills. You know, it wasn't a perfect game by MVP Black, but look at the turnaround. In with the Dwarf Toss. And then Genji's ult gets used, then you've got the sound barrier, which is nice. Nice shot across the bow by Li Ming there. But still, you're waiting for someone to drop low, and it's Bad Bunny in this case. Medivh, as we pause it for a sec, that's the biggest thing here. Medivh was absent in this fight. It's just that, you know, he doesn't have as much mount speed as other heroes, and had he been here, it could have been entirely different. But with his absence, it takes only one kill for Reset to pop off. We roll it forward at full speed, and you just see, you know, Reset doing Reset things. Kill after kill, gives her all her abilities back, her heroics, and then what should have been a pretty nice isolation kill, leading to a greater level of map control, just turns to dust in their mouths.
I think there's a great moment there when you're as a Li Ming player that if you cross the T in terms of like military terms, to be able to then kind of overshoot the retreat path, either they retreat into it if they're under threat and then get hit by it, or they're in a dangerous position anyway because MVP Black's putting on so much pressure at the front, so it's well calculated and well executed.
Yeah, the Dragon Blade I feel like was completely nullified, and they, because of that lack of Medivh, they just weren't able to do anything in that moment where the Dragon Blade is just really swinging at shields, but it's Reset who hits those shots consistently, and you know, Bad Bunny gets in a bad spot, Medivh has to move away, and you're just basically dead at that point.
There's one thing that I saw in both games that they played seven-sided strike with Li Ming is that they will seven-sided strike a target. As that target walks away, Reset holds his wave of force. As they walk away, they push them back in. Not only does it push them in, but anybody trying to come in and soak the additional shots, because it's soaked by the number of heroes there, they will continue to isolate that hero. That's a composition to where that is a well-practiced thing that they've done. They actually have done it multiple times over the last few games. Every time I see it, I'm like, man, that looks really good. I've never seen that before, right? So they're doing all things well at this point.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Our first best of 5 here is in the books as MVP Black moves on to the Grand Finals. Join us after the break, where we get a repeat of the Grand Finals from